Okay, I don't know how useful this video is going to be, but I'm going to do a quickie anyways. I've got a 2016 1025R, and the issue I was having is that my pedals wouldn't stay even. I noticed that the accelerator pedal would stay down, the forward, I'm going to call it, not accelerator, the forward pedal would stay down in this position, so it wasn't even. Not only that, because it would do that, the tractor would actually inch forward unless you deliberately press reverse or held the brake. And so I started digging into it, and I noticed first off I tracked all the linkages, and we'll look at that underneath here in a minute. And I noticed this cylinder right here. When you press either pedal, it's a gas activated cylinder. I don't think you can see the part number, but I'll try. No, well, actually I can show it to you on the old one. This is the old one here. I think that's LVA 17758. There we go. And so this is the old one here. And the head of it had become damaged and elongated. I actually just, without thinking what this thing was made of, tried to just go ahead and weld it here. And turns out this head is aluminum and then this is steel. So that obviously didn't work. But this particular head was loose and pulled off. There's kind of like this screw in there. And this particular aluminum head is just threaded around onto a little bitty rod down in there. And so this part had come loose. I jammed it down real good and then tried to weld it and messed it all up anyways. So this is the new one. The new one's different. This head appears to be kind of solidly connected here. There is no little threaded rod underneath there that I can see. There might be, but either way, the head is now firmly attached to the cylinder body. Now, the back part of it, on the old one, you just have to get in a, what is that, an Allen wrench? Or an Allen, boy, nothing ever focuses right, yeah. And you just unscrew this out of the tractor by putting in I think it's a 6mm Allen key, right? The new one doesn't have that. Let's see, there it is in the back right there. The new head has got this little screw or nut attached to the main bolt. And so some people were saying that they had to get a little wrench in along the back of the tractor and just millimeter by millimeter tighten that thing up. And that's nuts. The right way to do it is, see this little metal clip right there? It just pushes back this way. And when it pushes back this way, there's a cross metal piece that's on the other side that holds the ball in. And so when you just get a screwdriver and you push that back, or you set it, then this thing can just go on and off. And then you can literally put a socket and pull that bolt in and out. So all you do is you disassemble it, you put the bolt in, then you put this head in, and you take the clip and you just pop it forward and it locks it in. So it's very easy to put back on. And that only sort of fixed the problem. I mean, this tractor's a 2016. It's only got 600 and something hours on it, I think. Let's see how many hours I've got. Yeah, 618 hours. But I use it incredibly hard. Probably harder than I should, and my kids use it, and they're pretty rough on it. Oh, by the way, if you hate your mid-PTO turning off, this is the Rio sensor switch here. When you press reverse, notice how that goes back. When that goes back, this spring-loaded switch can pop forward, and that opens the switch and turns off kills your tractor if you have the PTO engaged. So what you do is you just take a giant zip tie or some kind of a zip tie, and you put it all the way around this thing to basically pull that little button in and hold it in. So that way, even when you press reverse, the button is held in, it doesn't come out. And then your Rio sensor is bypassed. It's critical for when you have a snowblower or when you have a mid-mount mower and you don't want you don't want to have to turn your PTO off when you go into reverse, and you don't want your tractor to die. Okay, so that's that steering issue there with that little cylinder. Now we're going to climb underneath. So I'm here from the front and climb underneath the tractor. So here are your pedals. It's very difficult to take video here, so I apologize for the bad video. So I noticed that they were kind of loose. Now they actually kind of hang in the right position. But the main issue here was, so the pedals are connected to a bunch of linkages. Here's this linkage, this linkage, this linkage, and ultimately it goes to this bar here. And you can see that bar rotate. Fortunately, it's dirty, so you can see it rotate. And it comes through and rotates on this. Here's your parking brake that you would set. All it does is lock in, and then this little thing just locks and grabs one of the, let's see if I can get a focus on there. Sorry. All right, that's as good as I'm going to get focused. You know what? I have a zoom out feature. Let's try that. There we go. A little bit better. So that's your parking brake feature right here. And then obviously when you press the pedal, it comes off, and that's all that is. Ultimately, the rest of the problem ended up being some play. If you follow this accelerator linkage, or forward pedal, I keep calling it accelerator, it's not a car, forward pedal linkage right here, it goes back to that device right there, right? And there's some slop in there, and I think some of that is just this metal right here is a little bit wore out, or it's ovalizing the hole a little bit. But ultimately, in order to get it to rest in the right place, all I had to do was lengthen this right here. Let's see if that helps. It's actually too much light. So let's just turn that light off. All right. And so I basically just took out this bolt right here, and then over here, you basically got a little pin or cotter pin or whatever you have. I kind of put an improvised one in there, and this linkage comes out, and then you just lengthen it by loosening this lock nut, and then just spinning this head until it's appropriate. And I opened it up that much. I mean, this thing was almost fully seated here, so that's a solid little more than 1/4 inch, I would say. And after doing that, even though there's still some slop that I don't really like, all that slop is from back there. I mean, almost all of it. There's a little bit maybe in the linkages up here. You can see this linkage here might be a little wore out. Same thing with that little, not really a bearing, but that bushing right in there is a little wore out. But for the most part, the pedals sit even. And work well now. Now, one thing here is you have these limit screws or limit bolts, and see they kind of dig in a little bit here, and I guess that's okay. I've considered putting something maybe on the tips of these bolts or something to keep them from digging in quite so much, but I probably won't. What I did is I set it so that when I press the pedal, the linkage moves this device here as far back as it can until it hits that bolt. See that bolt that's right there? That's fixed. Once that hits, then I assume that that's wide open as fast forward, or is going forward as fast as I can. And then holding it here, I set the limit screw to basically not let it get any farther. And that's how I adjusted that. The rear, I did the same thing. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about some of the steering linkages, not steering. Again, I can never speak on video. The forward and reverse linkages underneath your tractor, kind of what happens when things start to wear out a little bit. It's also possible that this got bent a little bit. I don't know. I did notice one thing here. There's some play. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. That's a good amount of play in my shaft that powers my... same thing on this end. And some of it is back here, but a lot of it is in the U-joints. So they may not last too much longer. We'll see. And I don't know how much this shaft costs, but it can't be more than a couple $100. I suppose it can. It could probably be $1,000 for all I know. The way these crazy tractors are. So now the pedals sit. There's still some slop in them, and I think that's kind of normal. I don't remember what it was like when it was newer. Notice this pedal could come up more, but see that linkage back there? That's the one I was showing you from underneath. See how there's play in there? I think if there wasn't any play, everything would line up. But it's pretty much lined up now. And I believe it took care of that creeping forward problem. I actually think what took care of that is this, because the head now pulls this back all the way like it's supposed to be. So again, no idea if this helped anybody or not, but it was a learning thing for me. Hopefully it helped somebody else.